Hi, folks. Dale York, Just Fish Outdoors, and welcome to another exciting podcast. We've got on the phone this evening a extremely talented individual that does some of the most incredible wildlife creations in taxidermy that you'll ever see. He's won multiple awards. He's a very, very creative and innovative individual. And for those of you, right around the corner, that fish of a lifetime might show up on the end of your line. And for those of you who may want to recreate that or have that fish for posterity and to recreate those memories, I'm telling you, folks, there's not a better guy to get a hold of than Vance Montgomery. Vance, come on in here, buddy, and let's talk a little bit about your taxidermy shop.
You bet, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I've been doing taxidermy now for 27 years, full time. Really, pretty much the only job, other than putting on the tackle shows a couple times a year, that I've really ever had. And I've been pretty fortunate. I've got to do something that I really have a passion for, and really enjoy kind of recreating, whether it's fish taxidermy or animals or whatever. I really have enjoyed it, and I like studying and trying to get better at it, and it's something that's pretty close to my heart, is getting to do something and getting paid for it, and having fun with it.
Well, I think Vance is being just a little bit modest here. He creates some of the most absolutely amazing wildlife creations in both fish and animals and birds as well. But we're going to focus on fish a little bit. And one of the things I've asked Vance to come on the show and talk about is, okay, you're an angler in Oklahoma, Texas, or wherever. I'm sure that you could ship it to Vance from about anywhere. But I've asked Vance to give us some tips and tricks on, you've caught that fish. Now what do you need to do with that fish to give that taxidermy, to give Vance all the information, all the help that he can get from the angler to recreate that fish and give you back that memory that you so lovingly deserve?
So, Dale, basically, if a guy is going to keep the fish, which, I'm going to say right up front, I don't really suggest that anymore, but there is still some guys out there that really like to have a skin mount. And for those guys that are still wanting to do skin mounts, first of all, when you catch the fish, probably one of the most important things that I like to see is I like to recreate. When I airbrush fish, I airbrush them one at a time. I don't mass assembly line fish, and I know a few guys do it that way, but you really don't get that individual look to the fish that guy caught. So, the first thing that I would suggest is to take multiple pictures of the fish. Actually, and I know a lot of guys will take pictures, holding it up, and that's great.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm looking for not just a picture that's from 5 foot away. I'm looking for a picture of the face, of its fins, of its body, of its spot pattern. So take multiple pictures and do it in a very quick manner. I mean, the quicker you can take those pictures, the better, because a lot of people don't realize how quickly a fish changes color after it's taken out of the water.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, so that's the first thing you want to do is, take multiple pictures. Then, if you want to weigh the fish, that's great. You don't really have to do that. That's something that the taxidermist can take care of, at the shop. But if you've got a fish and you're going to keep it, you've taken the pictures of it. So the next step is, how do I take care of it from that point to getting it to the taxidermist? And that's very important. A lot of doing a really good skin mount is proper, what I call field care. Right. And if you're throwing it around in the boat or dropping him or whatever, that's going to knock scales off or make the scales loose and damage the fish. So be real careful with it. Try to, if you've got a live well, put the fish in the live well. Try to keep it alive until you get home. Then once you get home with the fish, take the fish out. Maybe take a couple more pictures of the fish. Then lay him. Get you an old bath towel. This works really good. Take an old bath towel, wet it down good, lay the fish down in the towel, then roll that fish up in that wet towel until he's completely engulfed in it, and then put that inside of a couple, good trash bags. Not just one. Put him in one, then put him in a second one. Because one thing that's really happens on skin mounts is when you put them in the freezer and, time goes by and all of a sudden you're thinking, dang, it's been 2 or 3 months since I caught that fish. I need to get him to the taxidermist. Well, if you don't have him packaged well, the fish is going to start to freezer burn. And then his fins start getting brittle. And it's just a lot harder to do a real high quality taxidermy piece with a fish that's not in good condition. But if you'll package them like that, you won't have any problems.
One of the points you brought up, and it's so important, is taking pictures of that fish immediately after you catch that fish. And if you can't get access to your camera or whatever you're going to take a picture of for a few minutes, put that fish in the live well and get some water on it so it will retain most of its color. And folks, for anybody that's ever caught a smallmouth, it is unbelievable how fast they can change colors once you pull them out of the water.
A lot of people don't realize that fish are kind of a chameleon.
Yes.
They actually they change their color to the conditions of the water.
Exactly.
So if a fish is in dirty water, he's very pale.
Yes.
A fish that's in clear water tends to be a lot brighter, a lot more markings, and so when you take that fish out of those conditions, it instantly starts changing its mood and its coloration. A lot of that color goes away. But you're right, Dale. If you don't have any way of taking pictures immediately, definitely put him in the live well, and he'll keep most of it. Most of that color will stay. He might lose a little bit, but not like he would if you leave him out in the air for 3 or 4 or 5, 10 minutes. He'll lose most of his color. Yeah.
And even if you wait 4, 5, 10 minutes before you take a picture, you're not going to get the color to that taxidermist that fish had when you first caught him.
That's one thing that's really, as I've gotten matured as an artist, I love recreating that person's fish. So when I'm airbrushing, I'm looking at that fish in a picture or several pictures all the time. Well, down to the markings on its belly, to the lateral line markings and its face, and its, because every fish vary a lot from lake to lake.
Oh, and fish to fish. You could go to Lake X and catch 103-pound fish, and every one of those fish will have different markings. If you look close enough, 100%. Every one of them will. And, really, folks, you got to remember what Vance is recreating is he's recreating your memory. And the more information you can give to him, the more of that memory is going to be captured in his artistic work.
Yep, that is exactly right. So, the next thing after field care, is I'm not the only good taxidermist out there. There's a lot of good fish taxidermists. There's a lot of good taxidermy guys. But to do a little research, don't just call the first guy and he tells you, a certain price or a certain time frame, and you say, oh, I don't know any difference, so I'm just going to take it to him. Do a little research. There's enough people that have Facebook and websites and all that, and look at their work and look at their experience, and maybe look at there's a lot of taxidermy competitions anymore that guys compete in,
right?
And see if they are they an award winner, are they a master?
Yeah, go. What I suggest is going to their shop and looking at some of their completed work. That
exactly.
just takes a few minutes most often to do. But, you wouldn't hire a carpenter without looking at some of his work. So why would you let somebody work on your prize memory that you had no idea how it was going to turn out? And if they won't let you come to their shop, that's a pretty good indicator right there that maybe you need to go look at somebody else.
Oh, yeah. You would be shocked to know how many fish that I have in my shop actually right now that guys have paid to have done and never even brought it home.
Yeah.
That they were so disappointed
in
what was done that they're actually paying me now to redo it.
Yeah, and folks, what I'm really trying to point out here is, you're going to pay pretty much the same regardless of whether A, B, C, or D does it in most cases, but the quality of the work that you get back for the amount of money that you're going to spend is a great big difference between A, B, and C and D taxidermists. So, do your homework, man. Go look at some of their mounts. Go to their shop. Do your footwork before you pay your hard-earned money and get a big disappointment.
Yeah, there's a lot of difference in quality amongst different guys, and
oh boy,
there's I see this every day. Well, I take my whitetail to such and such guy. So I caught this big 10-pound largemouth.
Yeah.
I'll just take it to him as well. Well, everybody has things that they're better at in work of any kind.
Exactly.
And it is especially true in taxidermy. I mean, a guy that's really good in birds may not be any good at all in fish taxidermy.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that's really different about your shop is you have experts in all those fields that work for you and with you. So, yes. I mean, you have bird guys, you have animal guys, you have fish guys or gals or whatever.
Right.
And they all produce very, very high quality mounts up to your satisfaction, to your standards. So you're a little different.
One thing that I've really tried to do in my shop is the guys that work for me, I pretty much have taught, and most of the guys have worked for me for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And every one of them compete in taxidermy competitions, just like I do. We all go to seminars every year to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have that passion to do the next mount even better than the last one.
Yeah, and that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Yeah, it really is. And there's, not everybody wants that. I mean, I'm a little higher than some guys, and so just do your homework. Know your budget, know what you can afford to spend, and look around and find somebody that can please you with what you're going to have on your wall for a long time.
Yeah, but folks, really, pay attention to the quality, because one of the things that can really happen, and I've seen a lot of them, and I know Vance has fixed a lot of them, is you go to Taxidermy A and you get an okay-looking mount, and 2 or 3 years down the road, that thing looks like a clown sitting on your wall that you got to take and get redone. And that's the difference between what you get, between what you see and what you pay for and the quality you get. So think about that.
One thing I see, if a guy's really cheap, he's probably really cheap for a reason.
Yeah. What's the old adage? You get what you pay for?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And, I just don't look at work that way. No matter what I'm doing, I want to try to do it the best.
Yeah.
And there's some guys out there, Oklahoma's very gifted, honestly, with fish taxidermists. We have at least 4 guys that have won first place in the world taxidermy competition in fish taxidermy in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think that's probably more than any other state in the nation.
I would venture to say you're probably correct.
So they're kind of spread out. I'm kind of in this area. Kenny Bowman is in the Oklahoma City area.
Yeah.
Mickey Bowman is in kind of this down by Lawton.
Right.
Just those three guys alone, you're not going to go wrong with any of those.
Well, let's give the folks your phone number first of all, and tell them where you're located.
So we have Van Mar Taxidermy, VANMAR, Van Mar Taxidermy. We're in Catoosa, Oklahoma, out by the Hard Rock Casino, right off Highway 66. And we have a little tackle sporting goods store and our taxidermy shop there together. You can come by, and we have a showroom. You can come by and visit or hang out anytime a person wants to. My phone number, if you'd like to call and visit about taxidermy or anything like that, is 918-520-3474, which is 918-520-FISH. And if anybody, if you get something you'd like to have done, just do what we talked about, take care of it, put it in the freezer. You can give me a call. The quicker you deal with a fish after you've caught it, if you're going to do a skin mount, a person I recommend within a week, you need to have it somewhere.
Yeah.
And because the longer you let it set, the harder it is to do a high quality job with.
Now, folks, we'll get into the second part, and the second part of this podcast is going to deal with, if you're looking to capture that memory, both Vance and I would try to talk you out of a skin mount for 2 or 3 different reasons. Number one, fish conservation, but also the longevity of that memory being and looking just like it did when you caught that fish. And, now we're going to talk a little bit about, okay, I've caught this fish. Vance, what do I need to give you in order for you to recreate that replica?
So, basically, Dale, you're exactly right. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, that you don't really have to keep a fish anymore, to have a trophy, something memorable on your wall. The technology, especially in the last 10 years, has gotten so good that, even the fish that I won first place in the World Taxidermy competition with was a skin mount. But, I probably spent 2 months on that fish making it that quality.
Yeah.
The technology has gotten so good now that I can actually give that good of quality, or maybe even better, to a customer, where I can't spend 3 months on one guy's fish without charging him $10,000.
Yeah.
So the quality, 20 years ago, I wouldn't recommend guys doing replicas because they just look fake.
Right.
But
right.
now the molding technology that we have now is so good that they're actually better than a skin mount. There's no shrinkage. The one thing that I always got complaints about in fish taxidermy back in the day when I did skin mounts, which I don't even do now, but my fish don't look as big as it did. And they weren't lying. It didn't. It's not as big as it was. That's one negative thing about skin mounts. No matter who does them, they shrink some.
Right.
There's no way to keep that from happening.
No, there is no way.
So the biggest thing I really like now, if you catch a 24-inch bass or smallmouth or muskie or a northern or whatever it is, if you take the total length from his tip of his head to the tip of his tail, and you take the girth measurement around his belly, the widest part of his belly, if you can give me those 2 measurements, give me some good pictures, I can recreate that fish at a higher quality than you'll ever get a skin mount done. And plus it's going to last a lifetime. I mean, it'll be something you can hand down to your grandkids.
Yeah, the only things I would throw out there, and I'm sure you'll echo some of these, is keep it out of the sunlight wherever you mount it or wherever you have it hanging. Keep it out of the sunlight, and that replica will look just as good 20 years from now as it does when you bring it home.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they've got transparent, flexible fins. All the gills are molded into them. All the inner mouth detail. All the teeth, all the crusher teeth. I mean, if that fish had it when it was alive, it'll have it as a reproduction.
Yeah.
And and that's something when you do go look for that taxidermist that's doing that quality work, look for those things, because there is still some guys out there that, that are doing, there's still some cheap replicas that you can buy.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Like say a 8-pound largemouth. The molds I buy cost $200 to $300. There's some out there that cost $60.
Yeah, look at the mouth. I mean, if the mouth has detail inside of it, that's usually speaks. And exactly. I don't want to get on to areas that I'm not an expert in, but just from my point of view of looking at different replica mounts and different bodies that are available, the detail seems to be the difference around the mouth and inside and the gills. That seems to be the big difference.
That's exactly right. That's the difference between now and 10 years ago. I mean, the technology wasn't there to really mold the outside of a fish and the inside of the fish at the same time.
Right.
So when you got a replica, it looked pretty good on the wall. But if you looked inside its mouth, it looked like it'd been plastered in.
Yeah. You needed to hang it up high.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked a lot better when it was high.
That's really, though, is why I quit doing skin mounts when it became that, hey, I can do a better quality as a replica than I can as a skin mount. I said, okay, I'm a bass fisher myself. I love it as much as you do, Dale. And I'm like, I don't want to promote killing the fish just to do a trophy when I can actually do it better as a reproduction than I can as a skin mount.
Yeah.
So when that day came, I decided that I did not want to promote killing a fish just to have it mounted.
Yeah.
And there's just really no reason to. So, basically, I know we kind of got off subject a little bit, but to give me the best information for me to do you a reproduction of any kind, no matter what kind of fish it is, as soon as you catch the fish, take multiple pictures of it. Take a picture of its face, inside its mouth. Take a picture of its eye. Take a picture of its fins. Then take a picture of its whole body. Even both sides of the fish. Take several good pictures up close. Don't take them far away. You can take far away pictures if you want, but they don't do me a lot of good.
Right. You need detail.
I'm looking for detail. I'm looking at individual scales, not the whole fish. When I'm looking to recreate your fish and make it look like it did when you caught it, I'm looking at the markings on its face, to its gill plate, to it around its eye, to its spots in its tail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some pretty large fish have pretty dominant black spots on their fins. And they're not everywhere. You don't see them like that all the time. Just certain fish at certain times or out of certain lakes. So taking pictures to show as much detail as you can and give those to Vance to show those black spots on the tail or whatever really, really helps him recreate your memory.
Yeah, that gives you back the fish that you caught.
Yeah.
And once you get the pictures taken, lay the fish down. Carry you something to measure fish with, whether it's a measuring board or a tape measure or whatever it is. I suggest, if you're really after a trophy, keep a cloth or a flexible type tape measure.
Yes.
That way you can measure the total length of him, and then it's real easy to take your girth measurements around the fish, because the fish can really, that girth measurement is really important.
Yes.
You know, 1 inch difference can change the weight of a fish
Wow.
over a pound.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, so that's very important, is to get that girth right.
And spend just an extra minute and look at that fish and try to judge where that biggest girth is on that fish, because all fish are not the same.
Yep.
So try to measure that fish where you think that biggest girth is, because that's what Vance needs to pull that mold or to pick that replica.
Yep. So, you know, once you've got the length and girth, you've got your pictures, you know, be quick about it. You know, don't stress that big mama. You know, there's a lot of fish that are caught that are mounted, you know, this time of year.
Right.
That, you know, the fish are trying to spawn, and that's when they're the heaviest weight, and those fish are already a little stressed from going through the spawn. Yeah. So, you know, don't keep them out of the water. You know, if you're kind of slow at getting your measurements and all your pictures, put him in the live well for a few minutes.
Yep. Yep.
Let her go to breathing good, and then take her back out, finish up what you're doing, then, you know, put her back. And that way, you know, somebody else can catch her again, or who knows, you might catch her 2 years from now and she might be 2 pounds bigger. So.
Exactly. This time of year, those big fish are at their most stress. They're most fragile. They'll be all year long. So do what you need to do and get that fish back in the water as quickly as possible.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, you know, when they catch an 8, you know, 7, 8, 9 pound fish in Oklahoma, you know, that fish is about like a 70, 80-year-old person.
Yes.
You know, that fish is old. So you need to be, you know, even picking the fish up. You know, a lot of people don't really understand how to even hold the fish. You can actually hurt a fish just by picking it up.
Yeah. I see so many people that hold them up and try to open their jaw, and, you know, you can actually break a bass's jaw or dislodge that jaw where it's almost impossible for her to eat because she can't work her jaw. So pay attention. You know, if you don't know how to pick a big fish up, do some research, get on Google, you know, look, and there's some really, really good videos out there that show you how to do that. And, you know, the last thing we want to do is, you know, harm these big fish, because they are so old and they are such a great resource that, you know, we just want to do everything we can to preserve them.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's our future, you know, for the guys that love, you know, fishing, is, you know, taking care of that resource. And,
you bet.
And, you know, that fish that's, you know, 8 or 9, 10 pounds, you know, that's kind of like killing a Boone and Crockett whitetail. Not all those fish are ever going to get that big.
Exactly.
So those trophy fish that are that big, those are the best genetics, and we want to keep those in the water.
Well, there's a reason why, you know, a lot of people that bass fish quite a bit will go through their whole life and never catch 10-pound fish. That just gives some indication of how very rare that they actually are, and you know, just how absolutely awesome that fish is. And we want to maintain that strain. We want to maintain those genes, and we want to keep those fish alive.
You bet. Well, so, you know, there again, if a guy you get a big fish, and, you know, you want to do a reproduction of it, you're more than welcome to give me a call. My phone number is 918-520-3474. I have a lot of stuff on Facebook. I do a lot on our Facebook page. It's Vanmar, VANMAR, Vanmar Taxidermy. You can always send me a message through Messenger on Facebook as well. I do a lot of our promoting on Facebook, and I post a lot of our customers' work that we turn on a daily basis. So you can go on there and check out what we do.
Yeah, folks, give Vance a call at his place. Talk to him about that fish that you're going to catch. You know, maybe do a little pre-planning. You know, talk to Vance about you know, what's involved even with the production or reproduction. You know, what kind of price list that he puts out, what he might discuss with you. Just, talk to him about anything that you have questions on, about anything, not just fish. Like I said, he does some great duck work. I've seen some wonderful waterfowl work he's done. I've seen some African big game he's done. He's just really done it all, and he does it all with the same level of quality that he does a perch. I mean, it doesn't matter what he does.
I will say this too, we are in Tulsa, basically Tulsa, Oklahoma, with our shop, but probably 60% of the fish taxidermy, I've kind of, not to brag, but I've kind of gotten to be pretty well known in the fish world of taxidermy, and probably about 60% of the work that I do now is from people out of state, and we're like, and that's another advantage of doing reproduction. So you can basically, you can text me or email me your pictures, your measurements. Basically, then I'll follow up with a phone call. We'll visit about what you want to do with it. And there's a lot of different things you can do with fish too. I mean,
oh man,
you can do your standard wall mounts, and I do a lot of custom pieces with water scenes with fish jumping from the water, or chasing bluegill, or if you can imagine it, that's what I really, really enjoy doing is the custom work. So, but I can do fish. I mean, I just got through doing a fish from somebody from Spain. So I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. I can do your fish, and anywhere. We ship fish all over the country.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just indicative of the quality work you do. People who don't do very good quality work usually don't stick around very long. And the fact that you've been in it, 20 some odd years and do fish mounts all over the world, I think speaks highly of the work you do and your customer support. I mean, they're the ones that bring you the fish. And what's that phone number and that location again, Vance?
So it's Vanmar Taxidermy, VANMAR, Vanmar Taxidermy. Basically, we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, out by the Hard Rock Casino, just off Highway 66. My name's Vance Montgomery. You can look me up on Facebook that way as well. And we're open probably like 8 to 5 through the week. We're open from 8 to 2 on Saturdays, and we do take off on Sundays typically, except during the rush times. But you're welcome to call me anytime, visit about any kind of taxidermy. We have a full line. It's not just me. We've got 7-8 guys in our shop that are all very talented taxidermists, and we'd be glad to help you guys.
And now, folks, remember, if you catch that fish for a lifetime, or you're wondering how all this works, call Vance and talk to him. He'll give you the straight skinny, how everything should work, what you need to look at, what you need to think about, what kind of information that he needs. We talked about pictures, lots of pictures. We talked about detail. And like I said, we're both going to push the replica mounts because of the conservation of the fish. But, call Vance and talk to him. He just does absolutely lights out work. Vance, thanks again for coming on the show tonight. I think that's some really good information we shared with our anglers. Once again, folks, that's Vanmar Taxidermy. It's located in Catoosa, Oklahoma. And Vance, what's that phone number again?
918-520-3474. And there again, if you're out of state or something like that, check us out on Facebook. And I do a lot of our promotions on Facebook. You're welcome to send me a message on Messenger, and I'll definitely get back with you.
Vance, thanks a lot for coming on the show this evening. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
And
thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. We'll post this up on Facebook and YouTube here shortly. And folks, once again, you need to get a hold of Vance if you're looking to have that recreation of a lifetime and that fish you just caught or thinking about catching. Get a hold of him. I mean, he does absolutely lights out wonderful work. One of the best I've ever seen. So give him a call. Look him up on Facebook, Vanmar Taxidermy. And like I said, he's just a wonderful, wonderful person to deal with. He'll treat you right regardless of what you got going on. So, Vance, thanks a lot for coming on the show. You have a wonderful evening, and stay safe out there, and we'll catch you down the road somewhere.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Dale.
All right, bye-bye. And that'll do it for another Just Fish Outdoors episode, folks. We hope you enjoyed it. We talked a lot about the taxidermy and replicas. Get a hold of Vance Montgomery if you've got something like that coming up, or want to have something like that coming up. Or maybe you've caught and released a fish in the not too distant past and want to have that fish recreated and hang on your wall. Give him a call. He can help you out. Dale York, Just Fish Outdoors, saying, we'll catch you later.